Welcome back to our series looking at the historical reliability of the Old Testament of the Bible. Now we're moving into the time period after King David. So after the first three kings, Saul, David, and Solomon, the kingdom was split into the northern 10 tribes of Israel and the southern the southern 2 tribes of Judah and Benjamin. Here's a timeline chart from Mark Martin. There's a lot of archaeological evidence from these centuries, so let's just look at a few highlights. First, the Mesha Stele, or Moabite stone. In this stone inscription, the king of Moab, around 840 BC, tells of how he defeated Israel, giving credit to his god Chemosh. The stone is found in Dibon, Jordan, around 1868, but representatives from several governments were trying to buy the stone from the Bedouins there, and in 69, the Bedouins deliberately shattered the stone by heating it over a fire and then pouring cold water on it and smashing it with boulders. However, the archaeologist had managed to make a papier-mâché squeezed copy of the original before it was shattered, so later they were able to reconstruct it out of the 57 fragments that they were able to eventually purchase. The inscription lists Omri, king of Israel, mentioning the Bible. It also mentions the vessels of Yahweh, which is one of the first mentions of God's name found outside the Bible. The inscription may also mention the house of David, but there's some debate among archaeologists on the David mention because that part is broken. But in 2022, researchers took new high-resolution photographs of the papier-mâché and confirmed that it probably does mention David. Another one is the Shishak inscription. This was found on the Temple of Ammon in Thebes, which is modern-day Luxor, Egypt. It tells how Pharaoh Shishak destroyed many cities in Judah and Israel, but Jerusalem is not listed as being destroyed. This matches well with 1 Kings chapter 14, 25 through 26, and 2 Chronicles 12, 1 through 9, which say that Pharaoh Shishak came and conquered some fortified cities in Judah, but he was paid off with a bribe when he was coming to attack Jerusalem. Archaeologists have also found the remains of the palace of King Omri and Ahab in Samaria, including lots of ivory fragments. Also, a seal, probably from Queen Jezebel, has been found, although it was not found in situ by archaeologists, but is considered to be a genuine seal from the time of Jezebel, the famous opponent of the prophet Elijah. Next is the stele of Shalmaneser III, also called the Kirk stele. This stele was found in 1861 in Tel Kirk in Syria. Shalmaneser claims that he had a great victory at this Battle of Karkar, but as Ashby Camp summarizes, quote, the fact that he did not occupy the land and did not undertake another campaign to the west for several years, a number of years, makes it clear that he suffered a setback there. Shalmaneser specifically refers to Ben-Hadad, Hadad-Ezer of Aram, and mentions soldiers of Ahab the Israelite. He also represents those two kings as allies fighting against him at Karkar right in the time frame that Scripture records that Ahab and Ben-Hadad were at peace with each other. End quote. So this, again, confirms the Bible. The Black Obelisk is another one. This is King Jehu, bowing before Shalmaneser III. The Obelisk of Shalmaneser, or the Black Obelisk as it's sometimes called, this monument was discovered in Kala, Iraq in 1846. I'm quoting here from this article by BibleArchaeology.org. And this shows Jehu bowing before the Assyrian king Shalmaneser with Israelite emissaries bearing tribute behind him. This is currently the only surviving likeness of a king of Israel or Judah. End quote. Another inscription found in 1967 in Tel al-Rima in Iraq was from Assyrian king Adad-nirari III, listing those kings who brought tribute to him, and one that is listed as King Joash of Samaria from 2 Kings 13. There have also been many seals found, which were designed to stamp wax or clay, kind of like a signature from a government official or rich person. The stamped lump of clay around the knot of string that sealed the letter is called a bulla, and hundreds of these stamped clay lumps have also been found. Here's a seal found in the northern kingdom of the city of Megiddo in the 8th century BC, naming Shema the servant of Jeroboam. Shema is not mentioned in the Bible, but Jeroboam II is mentioned in 2 Kings 14. He reigned for 41 years and expanded the border and the economy of northern Israel. Here are 3 more, a seal mentioning King Hoshea, the last king of Israel, and another mentioning Ahaz, and the bottom left picture shows the first bulla that was found to mention any king of Israel, published in 1998. It came from the Antiquities Market, but scholars considered it authentic. The bottom right bulla is the first one that was found in situ in an archaeological dig that mentions an Israelite king. It was published in 2015, and it's the seal of Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, king of Judah. The annals of Assyrian king Tiglath-Pileser III mention King Menahem of Samaria and say that he received silver as tribute, matching 2 Kings 15. A building inscription from that time also lists tribute from Jehoahaz of Judah, which matches 2 Kings 16. The Bible explains in 2 Kings 15 that the northern kingdom of Israel was conquered by Tiglath-Pileser III, and he took captives to Samaria. The wall relief from Tiglath-Pileser's reign corroborates this and shows captives being taken from Omri land, and says that he installed Hoshea as king in place of Pekah, matching the biblical account. Now, Isaiah 20, verse 1, mentions Sargon, king of Assyria. This king is not mentioned anywhere else in ancient literature at the time, a couple hundred years ago, so many scholars thought the Bible was just making him up. But in 1843, the palace of Sargon II was discovered in Iraq, near modern-day Khorsabad. Many inscriptions were later found, including one that refers to Sargon as conqueror of Samaria and of the entire country of Omri land, or Israel, after King Omri. This fits exactly with 2 Kings 17 about the fall of Samaria to Assyria. Sargon became king after Shalmaneser around this time, and Sargon later took credit for the entire conquest. Sargon died in Anatolia, and his army was not able to recover his body, so he was not memorialized by his son Sennacherib, possibly out of fear, because the Assyrians thought that if a dead person was not buried properly, he would haunt them as a ghost, so he was partly forgotten to history at that time. All right, next we have one of the most interesting connections of all, and it's one of my favorites. This is in Judah. We have an amazingly detailed set of corroborations. This is Sennacherib's prison, or the Taylor prison. So 2 Kings 18 says Sennacherib, king of Assyria, the son of Sargon II, conquered all the fortified cities of Judah except Jerusalem, including conquering the major Judean city of Lachish, and this would have been around 701 BC. The Bible also says that Hezekiah was fined 30 gold talents and 300 silver talents. But then it says that Hezekiah gave all the silver in the king's house and temple to Sennacherib to try to make him go away, as well as a bunch of other things, precious stones and things. But instead, after receiving the gold and silver and precious stones, Sennacherib sent his army over from Lachish and besieged Jerusalem. Now, there's an intermediate period here where there was an Egyptian king that Sennacherib had to go take care of, but then he besieged Jerusalem. And according to 2 Kings and Isaiah in the Bible, Hezekiah prayed for God's help, and the angel of the Lord went out and killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. And Sennacherib retreated and went back to Assyria and was then killed there by his sons. So, of course, the skeptics don't like that miraculous stuff, but in 1830, several cuneiform cylinders were discovered in Iraq, including what is called the Taylor Prison or Sennacherib Prison. Here's some translated excerpts. As for Hezekiah the Judean, I besieged 46 of his fortified walled cities. I conquered them and took out 200,150 people. He himself I locked up within Jerusalem, his royal city, like a bird in a cage. Hezekiah was overwhelmed by the splendor of my lordliness, and he sent me 30 talents of gold, 800 talents of silver. Notice how specific the matches are. Exactly 30 talents of gold were given by Hezekiah, matching the number in the Bible. Regarding the silver, it's consistent because Hezekiah was fined 300 talents, but he ended up apparently giving more of, the weight, although some of the weight must have been miscellaneous precious stones, not just silver. The Assyrian record also confirms what the Bible said, that all the fortified cities were captured except for Jerusalem. The most Sennacherib could claim here was that he was locked up Hezekiah like a bird in a cage. So this is spin, of course. It was a terrible defeat for Sennacherib, but he tried to claim it as a win that he locked up Hezekiah like a bird in a cage. You can see Joel Kramer's video about the archaeology at Lachish that confirms this account. Huge relief carvings all over the palace walls about Lachish, which is the second most important city in Judea. So obviously Sennacherib would have wanted to capture the most important city and put that all over his walls, but he was not able to do that. Check out these videos that really go into a lot of great detail. And there's more links in the supplement as well. From the same time period, Hezekiah's tunnel has been found. This is an underground water aqueduct as described in 2 Kings 20, verse 20, as part of Hezekiah's preparations to defend Jerusalem. More than 1,700 feet long, gradually sloping about 1 foot downward, brought water underground from the Gihon spring to the Siloam pool. And an inscription in ancient Hebrew was found carved into the wall in the tunnel, commemorating the completion of the tunnel by 2 teams of workers digging toward each other underground and meeting in the middle. So you can read more about that. So next we will look at the Babylonian exile period and so on.